Hello and welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc Infection Biology, and we're joined by our programme lead and a former student. So we'll do our best to answer any questions that you have. Please use the chat box to ask any further questions and we'll do our best to cover those as well. We're recording the session, so please don't panic if you miss anything. We will be sharing this afterwards for you to watch back as well. And if you've got any questions specific to scholarships, your application, I'll pop some useful links into the chat for you there. But I think we'll start by introducing our panel. So Tansy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Tansy Hamilton. I'm the program director for the MSc in Infection Biology.
And Hannah.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
Hi, so I'm Hannah. I did the MSc in Infection Biology. I have just graduated, so I started the course in 2024 and took it all the way through like 2024 to 2025. And I specialize specifically in virology.
Nice. And Tansy, would you like to give us an overview of the programme, please?
yeah, sure. So I've got a few slides that I'll share with you now, and then if you've got any extra questions, you can just put them in the chat, and I'll deal with those afterwards. Let me just put this onto. Okay, is that sharing
Yep.
fine?
Yep.
Right, and if I do that, is that still okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Right. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is about the MSc in infection biology. I'm going to chat about how you can also get some specialisms if you want to graduate with a specialism in either bacteriology, parasitology, or virology. We also have a couple of other degrees that you can get. You can get a postgraduate diploma or a postgraduate certificate in infection biology as well, which are shorter courses. So I'll mention those in just a second. So I'm the program director. I'm from the School of Infection and Immunity at the University of Glasgow. So this course, it's a 12-month course. It's full-time. It starts every year in mid-September. So it's a 180 credit course. Each credit equates to about 10 hours of learning. So that's either face-to-face at sessions such as lectures and tutorials or labs. But it also includes your work that you do on your own at home afterwards to review the material that you've been taught, to work on assessments that you have, and if you've got exams coming up for some of the modules, then to do that revision as well. So it's really full time. You do have the option to specialise in one of these subject areas if you wish to, bacteriology, parasitology, or virology. That's entirely your decision. I'll talk more about that as we go through. And as I said, there are two shorter courses. So the postgraduate diploma is a two-term course that's worth 120 credits, or a postgraduate certificate if you can just do the one term, the first term, that's a 60 credit course. So most people do the full length MSc, but if for any reason you need to do a shorter course, there are those options too. So how is the course structured? So we'll look at each of the semesters in terms. So the first semester, you have an orientation week, which gives you information about the university and studying in Glasgow. And then you start two compulsory courses, which run alongside each other during that first semester. So there's one course which is research skills, and that's really designed to bring everybody up to the same point. So we have students from all over the world come and do this program, and everybody brings a different set of experiences, past knowledge and expertise to the course. And so this is really about making sure that everybody has the various different research skills that are important for you to succeed in your masters. So it covers things like basic calculations and statistics, literature searching and critical analysis of literature and data, things like research ethics, research integrity, some lab skills, and sort of key molecular biology techniques, how you analyze and present data, how you communicate science as well. So a whole range of skills that give you not only transferable skills, but also just sort of make sure that you have all the skills that are necessary to successfully complete the other parts of the program. And you do that alongside MSc students on our immunology and inflammatory disease program as well. So you get to meet them too. You also do what's really the core course for the infection biology masters, which is host pathogen interactions. So this covers a whole range of topics in bacteriology, virology, and parasitology, with a little bit of fungal biology in there as well. And that covers things like the infection process, immunity, immune evasion or modulation by the pathogens, how you diagnose or treat or prevent diseases through vaccination and things like that. One of the highlights, I think, for many students of semester one is an overnight trip that you get as part of the research skills course to SEEN. So this is the Scottish Centre for Ecology and the Natural Environment. So you do some assessed presentations there, and you really get a chance to socialise with your peers and also with teaching staff. And you can all, the SEEN is situated on the banks of Loch Lomond in the Trossachs National Park. So you also get to see a bit of Scotland as well and its beautiful countryside. And so here's just this is the research centre of SEEN, and then some of the environment as well, if it's not raining. Hopefully not when we go this time. Semester two, this is when you really build your MSc to suit you. So you get the chance to do 3 optional courses, 2 are 10 credit courses and 1 20 credit courses. Now the options we offer every year can vary a bit from year to year, but currently you've got a choice of 13 different options, covering a wide range of skill sets and different knowledge that you can acquire from those, from sort of bioinformatics and omics through to imaging, molecular techniques such as genome editing, animal models and in vivo research skills, to sort of current trends and challenges and diagnostics and even commercialization. So these you will undertake with students from a variety of MSc programs, so you get to meet people from across the university. Each of them have different methods of assessment and different methods of teaching, so you can pick something that suits you or allows you to gain skills that you feel your CV is currently lacking. And then at the end of semester two, you do another compulsory course, which is design in a research project. So that's worth 20 credits, and that sets you up for your research project in semester three. So it gives you information about how to design and test hypotheses, how to design experiments, write protocols, thinking about how you're going to collect your data and organize that and store that data, and then things like research ethics and integrity again, and also how you're going to communicate the results of your research in forms of sort of science communication and public engagement and outreach and things like that. So then you get to semester three, that's your research project. So the research project lasts for about 14, 15 weeks. And then you have a couple of weeks after that to write it up. And you also present it to your class in the form of an oral presentation. So the way we give you a research project, you will get a list of all the projects that have been offered that year. You indicate your top 5, and then we do a big juggling act to make sure that everybody gets one of their favoured projects, if at all possible. So it's not a selective process based on academic achievement or anything like that in how you've performed in the rest of the course. We really do try to make sure that every student gets the project they want, so that they'll enjoy it and have a really good experience. So it's a 60 credit course. So in total it lasts for sort of 3.5, 4 months. And then you have different choices of types of projects. So you can either do a wet lab project that's investigative, you can do a dry investigative project, so something like bioinformatics, or you can in some cases combine the two, or you can learn sort of more sort of skills around critical analysis of scientific literature, which is a research method in itself, and carry out a systematic literature review project. So I mentioned specialisms before. This is really optional. It's based on your own preference. We have 3 available: bacteriology, parasitology, or virology. If you want to have the option of having a specialism, then you have to complete 90 credits in that specialism. So that includes 10 credits from one of the optional courses. So some allow you to specialise, some don't. So you have to take one of the ones that allows a specialism in the right area, you do your design and a research project and your research project in that area as well. Now, you don't have to take that specialism. You can do enough options to and choose a project that allows you to specialize, but you really have the option up until the final exam board to decide whether you want to take that specialism or not. And so what will happen if you take it is that you'll get a degree in MSc in infection biology with a specialism in bacteriology or virology or parasitology, whatever it is you take. And in some cases that can be helpful if you intend to specialize in that area going forward in your career. So most of our teaching sessions are on the main campus at the University of Glasgow. So we've got a number of new buildings that have been built in the last few years. So we've got the Adam Smith Business School, which is shown here. It's a postgraduate teaching hub. So it's really multidisciplinary for PGT students. So you'll get to meet a lot of other students from other programs there. We have lectures across university buildings. So there's the Advanced Research Centre, which is very nice. We have the James McCune Smith Learning Hub. It's also very nice modern building. And then you also get to experience some of the historic buildings in Glasgow as well. So we've got the Joseph Black building. We've got the main part of the university here. Looks a bit like Harry Potter. And we also have the Boyd Orr building. So we've got a lot of historical buildings. Some of them are listed buildings as well. So they're from an architecture point of view, they're quite important as well. And then for your research projects, you'll either be in the Sir Graham Davis building if you do a bacteriology or parasitology project, or if you want to do a virology project, then you go out to our Garscube campus, which is about 3 miles away, and there you work in the Centre for Virus Research. Now, as well as your degree, we also like to that we also promote that you take part in other activities as well, because that gives you an all-round learning experience and many things to put on your CV going forward. So you can do a Graduate Skills Award, which gives you some formal recognition for extracurricular activities. There is a little bit of paid work that's available. So in some cases, you can fit in a little bit of demonstrating to undergraduates, or you can act as a student guide for an open day, for example. And we have lots of volunteering opportunities as well. So particularly in public engagement, you can become a STEM ambassador, which enables you to work with schools to promote science, technology, engineering or maths. But we have lots of opportunities, and there's also various things going on in the local community as well. And then all going well, you will graduate the December after you complete your year's degree, and that takes place in the Bute Hall. Here's a photo of last year's cohort featuring Hannah in the middle as well. It's a really nice day. You get to come back. We really like seeing you back, and you get to wear these wonderful gowns. It's great. So where do our graduates go on to do things? What do they do next? Many go on to stay in research and they do a PhD or become a research assistant or technician. And that might be in a research lab, or it might be in a diagnostic lab, and it can be in academia, can be clinical research, or it can be in industry as well. Some people go on to work for life sciences companies, either in sales or technical advice or in product development. We have people who go into food and farming industries, and then we have a lot of people who go on to teach the next generation of students. So in some cases, students come to us, they already have a job, they come to us and do the MSc as part of their career development, and then they go back to their role and use that in that role as well. So also, I think students sometimes want to know what to do to prepare for coming. So here are a few tips. If you're coming from overseas and English is not your first language, then I think probably the most important thing you can do is practice your English before you get here. You're going to be taught in English. You're going to interact with your peers in English and people in the city of Glasgow in English, and it makes it harder if you're struggling with your English. We can help you with that. We do have support in place and courses you can do when you're here, but it really helps if you've done that before you come. Also recommend you read some science, whether that's news articles or scientific papers and reviews. It's just really important to get thinking about science and how you can critically analyse those papers. Is it good? Are there things they could have done better? Also, although you're coming to do essentially a biology course, there's always some maths involved in calculations and statistics and things like that. So if you can brush up on that, that will also help you, particularly when you get to the lab. And I would also encourage, wherever you're coming from, if you're not already based in Glasgow and know the university, it's really good to read up on some of the student information that's available so that you know what to expect when you come. And I think Naomi's got some other links that she'll share with you as well, so you can find out more information. So that's kind of the main things that I was going to say. We can maybe, I don't know if any questions will come in, Naomi, but if there's any other questions that you want me to answer, I can do that. And then we can chat to Hannah as well, I think, and find out how she got on
Yeah,
when
I
she
think
was
there's
at.
maybe two things just before we pass to Hannah to hear, because I'm really excited to hear about Hannah's experience. But we've been asked about assessments and what kind of what typical assessments do students get?
So there's a whole range of assessments, and that depends on the course. So in research skills, there's a lab that gets assessed. You write a lab report for that, and you also get some of your practical skills assessed. And you research a topic and you give a presentation. That's the one that happens at scene when you go away for that, and that gets assessed. For host pathogen interactions, that compulsory course, the main one, there's you have an assessed coursework essay that counts for currently half of your grade for that assessment. And as part of that, some of those marks go towards meetings that you have with your essay supervisor and how well you've prepared for those, as well as obviously getting the bulk of the marks for your final essay. There are also 2 exams for that course. One is based around essay questions. So you have on the lecture material. So you have 3 questions to answer. I think it's a 2-hour exam. And you answer the questions in the exam. There's also a data analysis paper where you get given a paper with certain bits redacted in advance, normally 48 hours in advance of the exam, and then you get asked questions about the data analysis. When it comes to the optional courses, that really depends what you take, and they assess by a variety of methods. So if you're doing a bioinformatics course, you might be asked to write some code. Some of the courses have group work, and you're assessed on how well you put together a portfolio or a presentation or a poster or something like that, and how well you've worked as those groups. Some will have oral presentations to do, some have practical exams. So it really depends what option course you take. The designing a research project course, you write a mock grant application as part of that. So every course has a variety of assessments that help you to develop different skills. Your research project, you will have to write a report for that. That is the bulk of your marks, but you also give an oral presentation that's assessed, and you also get a mark from your supervisor for how well you've approached your project throughout. It's not so much about how well the experiments work, because sometimes that's out of your control, but it is about how well you've approached that project and how enthusiastic you were and things like that as well.
Ah, great. So nice and varied. The other question we had was when will the programme timetable be available to view? And that was somebody asking for sort of childcare purposes.
Yeah, so normally that will come fairly late on, a week or 2 before each course starts. Sometimes it can even be later than that. And the reason for that is that we have to wait and see if we have any students with accessibility requirements. So we always have to make sure, and it's not just our course, but it's across the university, that we're rooming our courses in rooms that, if a student has an accessibility issue, that they can still get to it. So we can't provide full timetables until we know where we're going to be and when those rooms are available. In general, courses, this is a full-time course. You are expected to be available between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday. And you won't have face-to-face teaching all of that time, but it could be at any of those times. And it does vary week on week. So for childcare, obviously normally you need to know this reasonable time in advance. And what I can say is that it won't be the same pattern every week. So if you are thinking about childcare, I would strongly recommend that you have childcare available between 9 and 5. You won't be on campus for all of that time, but you might have a lecture, in the morning and then something later in the afternoon. And actually, you may choose to stay on campus the rest of the time doing your private study in our libraries and other study facilities. Um, it also, some things we can't timetable until much nearer the time. So you may have meetings with your essay supervisor, or you'll have tutorials, and that will depend on whoever's taking that, on their availability as well. And that can change. They won't necessarily know that until a week or two before that event. So really, you need to be available between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Perfect. Something that actually always surprises me, and I think it's quite a surprise to students as well, is how much self-study is involved with a master's. It's very different to an undergrad. Hannah, how did you find that, the jump from undergrad to postgraduate?
Okay, so for me, I will add that I didn't go straight from undergraduate to postgraduate. I actually just took a year in between and worked in hospitality full time. However, you're totally right, Naomi. It's you have to be really, really good at, you're gonna go, oh my gosh, I have maybe only 2 hours of lectures today instead of like in my undergrad, I could have had 4 hours of lectures and 2 hours of labs all in one day. But you have to know that this time you need to use that time for self-directed study, like if you want to get your full amount out of the master. So I think like the biggest thing you need to know going into a master's is like you have to have self-discipline to go, no, I am going to go to the library this morning even though I have no teaching, and do the optional readings, because that's how you at the end of the day develop the skills that's going to make you a better researcher.
Yeah, and I think, Hannah, that is absolutely true. And I think the other thing to emphasize here is that for every credit of your learning, and remember, a
Mm.
master's program is 180 credits. For every credit, you're talking about 10 hours of study. Now, maybe 1, possibly 2 hours of that will be face-to-face teaching. The rest of it will be self-directed learning, and that will be things like reviewing the taught material. It will be preparing any assignments you have for that course, and if you've got an exam coming up, it will include the revision for that as well. So you're talking a full-time week, to be able to put all that work in.
Hmm.
It is like a full-time job, isn't it?
It,
Yeah.
it, it is. And I think there was one question that somebody had perhaps asked about whether you could have a part-time job alongside the masters. And, we really discourage that, because we want you to also to have a life, and we want you to not be absolutely exhausted by the end of it. It's a full-on year, as I think Hannah will tell you. We do have some breaks. You have a break over Christmas, and you have a week. Um, Normally at the start of May before your projects begin. And you will have maybe the Easter weekend off, but other than that, you don't really have holiday time, and it's a long course. Undergraduates tend to run for 9 months of the year, and then you have a long summer holiday. You don't get that with the masters, so you need to pace yourself and really allow enough time to do your study.
Did you?
Yeah, I will. Sorry. I will say I did manage to have a part-time job, but it's like Tansy said, I just didn't have a life. I worked in a pub, which obviously is quite good because those hours leave you in a pub. Like when you're working in like a pub, you're usually working evenings and weekends. So I was able to go to uni during the day and then maybe go straight to work afterwards. And that would mean I'd get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and maybe not get home until 2 o'clock in the morning. But I did sort of know that that was going to be my situation going into it, and I had some savings as well. So I was able to, when I got to exam time, take the time off so that I could just focus more on the masters. I do know some of the other students did work, say, in like Sainsbury's, one shift a week. One thing that can be, I think, overlooked is a lot of places around Glasgow offer like agency bar work. So you can sign up with an agency and then do one shift a month with them, which maybe is a bit more feasible if you're. I just know for myself, like I've always self-funded myself completely, so it can be quite hard when you're worrying about money, but you want to further your own education. The other thing I can say, I'm a considered a home student because I'm from Belfast, but it can be very difficult for international students to get work around Glasgow because you have a 20-hour cap on how many hours you're allowed to work during term time, which I know it sounds like a lot, but a lot of places just won't bother hiring you then. So if you're an international student and you're worrying about, you're going, well, I want to come here for uni, but I know I'll need to work. That is something you'll need to consider as well, that you may not be able to get a job. And if you do, you'll have to work under the 20-hour limit every week.
It's quite a balance, isn't it? Did you
Yeah, yeah.
manage to have any downtime and take part in those, like, because we've got loads of societies and clubs, did you manage to take part in any of them, or were
No,
you strictly working
I
and
was
studying?
my job in the pub was my social life essentially, which obviously a pub job is quite social, but it did mean that like I would say work Thursday night and then do Saturday night and Sunday night, so I just wasn't having any time off.
God, you
So
must have been
yeah,
glad
you
when it
need
finished and just rest.
yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
maybe I can also show you here. There's another alumnus student who wasn't able to make it today, but she did send me a slide of some of her experiences. Um, so she was an international student, Farah, and she's still with us at the University of Glasgow. So she did her MSc a few years ago now, 2022 to 23. Um, for her, I think the highlights of the course were the scene trip, the fact she got to make friends with so many people from around the world and different cultures. But she did get involved in some volunteering activities, and it so she helped out with some of the public engagement activities I run. And that actually helped her because she was able to meet some of our teaching staff through that, and then she got a job as a demonstrator after she graduated for a bit as well. She also really enjoyed some of her she also enjoyed her essay because she got to pick the subject for that, and it was something she was really interested in, and she really enjoyed her summer project. She loves Scotland and the nature and the people there. She's now gone on to do a PhD. um, it's a welcome program. And one of the things she wanted me to emphasize was that although her research project was working on sort of biology of one particular life cycle stage of the malaria parasite, because of the transferable skills she got through some of the aspects of the program, she was then able to switch fields for her PhD and is now working on epidemiology of a helminth infection, schistosomiasis. Um, but Farah, as an international student, is happy to chat. She's put LinkedIn address there. So if anybody's got any questions they want to ask her after this webinar about how it was for her to adapt to life in Glasgow or how she found stuff here, then she's happy to chat to people through that medium as well.
Great, and we also have our uni buddies on our website as well, that we've got them for most of our programs, and it's really a good resource to reach out to them. I think just for the last couple of minutes, Hannah, what have you done since you graduated, and what's the plans for the future?
Um, I am now working actually as a research assistant, so I work still in the university. I'm working in the Centre for Virus Research. My contracts, I'm only on a short-term contract at the moment, so I've got about a month and a half left here, and then no plans immediately afterwards. But I am in the process of, I'm applying for PhDs. I've got an interview next week actually, so keep your fingers crossed. And I will say, I did apply for this PhD a couple of years ago before I had got the master's, or before I'd even applied for the master's and this program, and I got rejected from it. And now that I have the master's, they've offered me an interview, so it's been worth it.
Oh, that's really good. Best of
Yeah.
luck and keep us posted. Um, that's us just at our time. Thanks very much to you both for taking time out of your day. I know how busy you are, so it's been really lovely to talk to you and hear more about the programme. Um, if you have any further questions from watching this, please do get in touch. We've got the email address on the programme webpage, so do get in touch, and the team are brilliant at getting back to any questions you have. But yeah, thanks again. Thanks to those that have watched, and hopefully we'll see you all come September time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.